3, verse 16.
Oh, you get pain in childbirth.
Right, I will greatly multiply your pain in childbirth, and what else? What's the other part to this? The pain in childbirth is one part, the other part is
Desire your husband.
your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Yes.
That's where love comes
For what?
from. Love.
Love? Well, there's already a love between Adam and Eve before they eat from the tree. Right, Adam says, "This is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." But here, the pains of childbirth and also she'll be ruled over by Adam. Any other questions you wanted to go over from 1 through 10?
Yeah, question 4. What does the form Eve out of?
Yeah, what does he form Eve out of? This is in chapter 2. After Adam names the animals, what does he form Eve out of?
Adam's rib.
Adam's rib, right? Verse 21, or verse 20. The man gave names to all the cattle, chapter 2, verse 20, on page 2, and to the birds of the sky and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found a helper suitable for him. So the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man, and he slept. Then he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh at that place. The Lord God fashioned into a woman the rib which he had taken from the man and brought her to the man. One of his ribs. The others? All right, let me give you the review questions for chapters 11 through 20. We're proceeding along at a nice pace here. We've already started this section, and we should finish at least up to 20 today. Making our way rather rapidly. All right, so we'll be continuing with chapter, we're up to 16, 17. 18. So in 17, we just had the covenant between God and Abraham. Or what does God promise to Abraham? First of all, he tells Abram, now your name is Abraham. And what is this promise that God makes to him? He'll have a child. Well, he's already got one child.
Yeah, from Sarah.
Right, he'll have a child from Sarai, who's now called Sarah, his wife. Who's the son that Abraham already had back when he was called Abram? What's that son's name? Learned about him in chapter 16. Ishmael, yes. And where does Ishmael come from? Yes, from
Son of Abraham. Not Sarah.
Right, of Hagar, her maid. Sarai says to Abram, look, I can't have children, so why don't you take my maid Hagar and try to have children with her. Yes. So there's Ishmael. All right, so chapter 18 here. And the other part of the covenant, so God will give Abraham a son by his wife Sarah and descendants, many descendants. And what does Abraham have to do to hold up his end of the bargain, hold up his end of the contract, the covenant? What does he have to do? He has to circumcise not only himself, but all the males in his household. Ishmael, his servants, all of their children, every male, at least 8 days old, has to be circumcised. It's part of the covenant. I'm sure there's lots of things you could say about that circumcision. Well, we read here in verse 11, 17, verse 11, You shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be the sign of the covenant between me and you. We had in chapter 15, Abram making the sacrifice to God where he splits the animals in half. So it's this cutting, this separation. That's part of it there. All right, chapter 18. So this covenant has just been made. Abraham and Ishmael, they've all been circumcised. Chapter 18. Now the Lord appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre, while he was sitting at the tent door in the heat of the day. When he lifted up his eyes and looked, behold, 3 men were standing opposite him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them, and bowed himself to the earth, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in your sight, please do not pass your servant by. Please let a little water be brought, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will bring a piece of bread that you may refresh yourselves. After that you may go on, since you have visited your servant. And they said, So do as you have said. So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah, and said quickly, Prepare 3 measures of fine flour, knead it, and make bread cakes. Abraham also ran to the herd, and took a tender and choice calf, and gave it to the servant, and he hurried to prepare it. He took curds and milk and the calf which he had prepared, and placed it before them. And he was standing by them under the tree as they ate. Then they said to him, Where is Sarah your wife? And he said, There in the tent. He said, I will surely return to you at this time next year, and behold, Sarah your wife will have a son. And Sarah was listening at the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in age. Sarah was past childbearing. Sarah laughed to herself, saying, After I become old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said to Abraham, Why did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I indeed bear a child when I am so old? Is anything too difficult for the Lord? At the appointed time I will return to you at this time next year, and Sarah will have a son. Sarah denied it, however, saying, I did not laugh, for she was afraid. And he said, No, but you did laugh. Then the men rose up from there and looked down toward Sodom, and Abraham was walking with them to send them off. The Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Since Abraham will surely become a great and mighty nation, and in him all the nations of the earth will be blessed. For I have chosen him, so that he may command his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing righteousness and justice, so that the Lord may bring upon Abraham what he has spoken about him. And the Lord said, The outcry of Sodom and Gomorrah is indeed great, and their sin is exceedingly grave. I will go down now and see if they have done entirely according to its outcry, which has come to me, and if not, I will know. Then the men turned away from there and went toward Sodom, while Abraham was still standing before the Lord. Abraham came near and said, Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you indeed sweep it away and not spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous and the wicked are treated alike. Far be it from you. Shall not the judge of all the earth deal justly? So the Lord said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within that city, then I will spare the whole place on their account. And Abraham replied, Now behold, I have ventured to speak to the Lord, although I am but dust and ashes. Suppose the 50 righteous are lacking 5. Will you destroy the whole city because of 5? And he said, I will not destroy it if I find 45 there. He spoke to him yet again and said, Suppose 40 are found there. And he said, I will not do it on account of the 40. Then he said, may the Lord not be angry, and I shall speak. Suppose 30 are found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Now behold, I have ventured to speak to the Lord. Suppose 20 are found there. And he said, I will not destroy it on account of the 20. Then he said, may the Lord not be angry, and I shall speak only this once. Suppose 10 are found there. And he said, I will not destroy it on account of the 10. As soon as he had finished speaking to Abraham, the Lord departed, and Abraham returned to his place. All right. 2 things that happen here in chapter 18. The first one is what? Who Who shows up? Yes, the Lord. In what disguise? Three men, right. Sometimes described as angels, sometimes interpreted as the three persons of the Trinity. Yes, and the Lord comes disguised as three men, and what does Abraham do? What does he do here at the beginning of 18? He gives them food, he gives them drink, he gives them a place to sit, to wash up. He gives them hospitality, the way that maybe in the Odyssey we would expect it. Yes, remember Abraham and Lot, they've got these flocks of sheep and goats. They're wandering around following the grazing area with their flocks. If you've got a large concentration of plant-eating animals, and this is what they naturally do in the wild, but you have to move them around or they'll kill all of the plants growing in one area. And then they won't have any food and the stuff won't grow back, really. So yes, Abraham lives in a tent. And he moves around from place to place following the land that's good for his flocks. All right, and then he gets this prophecy saying, this time next year I'll come back and Sarah will have a son. And then what happens in the second part when these three visitors, when the Lord turns to go, what does Abraham then learn about? Sodom, the city of Sodom, which is in that area where Lot has been living. And what's going to happen to Sodom? Right, why is the Lord going to destroy it? Yes, because of the sins. And what does Abraham say to the Lord when the Lord tells Abraham, I'm going to go destroy Sodom?
Why I find 50 Christian, no, not Christian, but that believe in God. You will destroy the city, also them, but they didn't do anything.
Right. He says, well, what if there are 50 righteous men there? What if there are 50 good men that live there? Will you still destroy the city? The Lord says, no. Even though everyone else is bad, for the sake of those 50 men, I won't destroy it. And then what does Abraham do once he gets this first answer? He says, what if there's 45? What if there's 40? What if there are 30? What if there are 20? What if there are 10? He gets all the way down to 10. And each time, how does the Lord respond? Right. If I can find that many righteous men, that many good men, then I won't destroy it. Sort of like a bargain. Almost. Abraham here is, and notice what he says, when he hears that the Lord is planning to destroy this entire city. What does he say? He says, in verse 23, will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? And he says in 25, far be it from you to do such a thing, to slay, to kill the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous and the wicked are treated alike. Far be it from you, shall not the judge of all the earth deal justly? He says, you are the judge. You should be just in your decisions. Why would you have the righteous and the wicked suffer the same punishment? And each time the answer is, if I can find that many righteous men, then I won't.
I'm so sorry. It's okay. Johnny? Is that you?
Thank you. All right, chapter 19. Now the two angels came to Sodom in the evening, as Lot was sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. Remember, who's Lot? Whose nephew?
Abraham.
Right, Abraham's nephew. They've gone their separate ways, and Lot here is now living in Sodom. When Lot saw them, he sees these angels, and he greets them and bows his face down to the ground. He's doing the thing he's supposed to do. And he said, now behold, my lords, please turn aside into your servant's house, and spend the night, and wash your feet. Then you may rise early and go on your way. They said, however, "No, but we shall spend the night in the square." Yet he urged them strongly. So they turned aside to him and entered his house, and he prepared a feast for them, and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Lot provides the hospitality that he's supposed to. But before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, surrounded the house, both young and old, all the people from every quarter. And they called to Lot and said to him, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us that we may have relations with them." But Lot went out to them at the doorway and shut the door behind him and said, "Please, my brothers, do not act wickedly. Now behold, I have 2 daughters who have not had relations with man. Please let me bring them out to you and do to them whatever you like. Only do nothing to these men, inasmuch as they've come under the shelter of my roof." But they said, "Stand aside." Furthermore, they said, "This one came in as an alien, and already he is acting like a judge. Now we will treat you worse than them." So they pressed hard against Lot and came near to break the door. But the men reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door. They struck the men who were at the doorway of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves trying to find the doorway. Then the 2 men said to Lot, "Whom else have you here? A son-in-law and your sons and your daughters, and whomever you have in the city, bring them out of the place. For we are about to destroy this place, because their outcry has become so great before the Lord that the Lord has sent us to destroy it." Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were to marry his daughters, and said, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy the city." But he appeared to his sons-in-law to be joking. When morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city." But he hesitated. So the men seized his hand and the hand of his wife and the hands of his 2 daughters, for the compassion of the Lord was upon him. And they brought him out and put him outside the city. When they had brought them outside, one said, "Escape for your life. Do not look behind you and do not stay anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away." But Lot said to them, "Oh no, my lords. Now behold, your servant has found favor in your sight, and you have magnified your loving kindness, which you have shown me by saving my life. But I cannot escape to the mountains, for disaster will overtake me and I will die. Now behold, this town is near enough to flee to, and it is small. Please let me escape there. Is it not small, that my life may be saved?" He said to him, "Behold, I grant you this request also, not to overthrow the town of which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I cannot do anything until you arrive there." Therefore, the name of the town was called Zoar. The sun had risen over the earth when Lot came to Zoar. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the valley and all the inhabitants of the cities and what grew on the ground. But his wife from behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Now Abraham arose early in the morning and went to the place where he had stood before the Lord. And he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the valley, and he saw, and behold, the smoke of the land ascended like the smoke of a furnace. Thus it came about, when God destroyed the cities of the valley, that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot lived. Lot went up from Zoar and stayed in the mountains, and his 2 daughters with him, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar, and he stayed in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. Then the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is not a man on earth to come into us after the manner of the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and let us lie with him, that we may preserve our family through our father." So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. On the following day, the firstborn said to the younger, "Behold, I lay last night with my father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. Then you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve our family through our father." So they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. The firstborn bore a son, and called his name Moab. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. As for the younger, she also bore a son, and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the sons of Ammon to this day. All right, lots of stuff in chapter 19. Beginning of chapter 19, what happens?
Angels came to Sodom.
Yes, now these angels, there's only two of them now. They come to Sodom, and whom do they see in Sodom? Lot. This is sort of similar, remember, to this scene at the beginning of the Odyssey, when Athena comes in disguise and Telemachus welcomes her. And what does Lot do when he sees these people, these angels in disguise? Yes, he says, please come stay at my house. They say, no, we'll just camp out here. He says, no, please. He makes them come. He throws them a feast. They're about to go to bed, and then what happens? Yes, the people of the city of Sodom show up. What do they want? Yeah, they don't just want to see these two men. But what else? Yeah, they want to have their way with them. They want to have relations with them. And how does Lot respond?
I'm pretty you with your daughter.
He says, no, not my guests. I'll give you my two daughters. And how does the crowd respond to that? No, they don't want that. In fact, they say to Lot, they say about him, look, this guy, he was an alien, he was an outsider, he came here, and now he's going to judge the way that we do things.
They know aliens back then.
So alien means outsider,
Wow.
not like a space alien. Yeah, alien means outsider. So he wasn't from Sodom originally. He, had come there when he and Abraham split ways, and he comes and he settles in Sodom. So he didn't grow up there. He's an alien. And so they say, look, like, you're not even from here. Where do you get off telling us what to do and what not to do? Okay, the men, the angels, they grab Lot and bring him in and shut the door. And what do they do to these men who are outside of Lot's house? Make them blind, yes. And what do they tell Lot at this point? Say that again?
To have him to get his family back.
Right, take your family, everybody's here, run away. Why? They're going to destroy the city. Apparently, not even 10 righteous men were there. We see Lot acting the way he's supposed to, but pretty much no one else. He's got these guys living with him who are supposed to, it's him, his son, his wife, his two daughters, and then these two men who are supposed to be his sons-in-law. They're going to become his sons-in-law. I guess they're engaged to his daughters. And how do they respond in verse 14 when he tells them, okay, well, these guys say we got to get out of here, let's go. How do his sons-in-law respond? They think he's joking. Next morning, they say, okay, Lot, let's go. Take your wife and your daughters. Forget about them, and let's go. And Lot still hesitates. Finally, the angels make him go. The sons-in-law get left behind, notice. What happens to Sodom and this nearby city, Gomorrah?
No, she became salt.
Say it again?
She looked behind her and she became salt.
Right, so the cities are destroyed. He goes to this little town called Zoar. First the angels say, you got to go up in the mountains, but he says, please, can I just go to that tiny little town there? So they say, fine, go there. But his wife looks back at the city of Sodom. She sort of misses it, and she gets turned into a pillar of salt. She's turned into salt. Yes. Abraham sees this. And then, so Lot's in Zoar, and what happens in this last section of chapter 19? Lot's in Zoar, and then what does he do?
The daughter sleep with Lot.
Right, yeah, so he doesn't feel comfortable staying in Zoar. He had been told, go out into the mountains. So first he went to Zoar, then he decides he's not comfortable with being there, so he takes his two daughters. Remember, his wife's been turned to salt. His sons-in-law died in Sodom. He takes his daughters with them, and the daughters seduce him so that they can have children. They're living out in the mountains in this cave with their father, and they want to have offspring, so they get him drunk. They have their way with him. And they give birth to Moab and Ben-Ami. Yes, it's very weird. I told you this book was weird. Yeah, a lot goes through a lot. Get it? Yes. So, apparently, at the end of 18, we saw Abraham sort of arguing with God, saying, okay, but what if there's 50 guys? Say there's only 50 guys. What if there's only 45? What if there's 40, 30, 20, 10? He gets down to 10. And it turns out how many righteous people were there actually abuse the guests? So it's just Lot's household. His sons-in-law, they won't listen to him. They think he's joking. He tells them to get out. His wife, she misses Sodom. She looks back and she gets turned into salt. And his daughter's certainly not acting in a proper manner here. All right, yes. Chapter 20. Now Abraham journeyed from there toward the land of the Negev and settled between Kadesh and Shur. Then he sojourned in Gerar. Abram said of Sarah his wife, she is my sister. So Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream of the night and said to him, behold, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is married. Now Abimelech had not come near her. And he said, Lord, will you slay a nation even though blessed? Then God said to him in the dream, yes, I know that in the integrity of your heart you have done this. And I also kept you from sinning against me. Therefore I did not let you touch her. Now therefore, restore the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you and you will live. But if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours. So Abimelech arose early in the morning and called all his servants and told all these things in their hearing. And the men were greatly frightened. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, what have you done to us? And how have I sinned against you that you have brought on me and my kingdom a great sin? You have done to me things that ought not to be done. And Abimelech said to Abraham, what have you encountered that you have done this thing? Abraham said, because I thought, daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And it came about when God caused me to wander from my father's house that I said to her, this is the kindness which you will show to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, he is my brother. Abimelech then took sheep and oxen and male and female servants and gave them to Abraham and restored his wife Sarah to him. Abimelech said, behold, my land is before you. Settle wherever you please. To Sarah he said, behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, it is your vindication before all who are with you, and before all men you are cleared. Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and his wife and his maids, so that they bore children. For the Lord had closed fast all the wombs of the household of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Our chapter 20 is sort of similar to a situation we saw before. When did we see this kind of situation before? Right, in Egypt with Pharaoh, Abraham had told Pharaoh that Sarah was his sister to protect himself. And there Pharaoh had taken her as his wife and had been cursed by God for it. But here with Abimelech, it goes a little bit differently. How does it go differently with Abimelech? Right, he has this dream where the Lord tells him she's Abraham's wife, not his sister. You need to give her back, or you and all your people are going to die. And Abimelech says, "But look, I had no idea. The guy told me that she was his sister. How was I supposed to know?" Lord says, "Yes, I know. That's why I didn't let you come near her. And so return her, and things will be fine." So he returns Sarah to Abraham. He gives them money. Abraham blesses Abimelech. And what else? What do we learn about Sarah and Abraham here, which we might not have seen before? What do we learn about them?
Sarah is the mother of the father of Abraham.
Right.
Of the mother.
Right. Terah and Abraham are both have Terah as their father, but from different mothers. So in fact, she's his half sister. And so And so, and Abraham says when we first got married, then I asked her, tell people that that I'm your brother rather than your husband, to protect me. Yes. All right. So I think we can pause there. It's a bit early, but that finishes 20, and then we start to move into the next section with Isaac. We're still going to have a few more chapters with Abraham, and then we'll move on to some of our other characters in Genesis. So there's 11 through 20 questions. Why don't we say Tuesday for them? Bye.